SRIRAM's IAS, serving the nation since 1985. Ab offline, hoya online, we are the lifeline.
Hello students, welcome to SRIRAM's IAS. Welcome to this current affair class. This is class number 19. We are continuing this class from a very long time now, and this is going to help you in your upcoming prelims examination. I am Mayank Bhardwaj taking this class. Now directly let us delve into the important issue for today, and it is about a new election commissioner who has been appointed to the post. So this article will be about Chief Election Commissioner. There were issues regarding the appointment of Chief Election Commissioners. Election Commissioners hold a very important position. Election Commission holds an equally important position in the Constitution, in the democracy, because the elections to the state legislative assemblies, elections to the Parliament of India, elections of important constitutional posts such as the President of India and the Vice President of India, all are conducted in a free and fair manner by the Election Commission. There are also state election commissions in India which conduct the election for panchayat and municipalities. So in order to maintain the political democracy in the country, it is very important to have a free and fair election, and equally important to have a body who looks after the freeness, the fairness of the election process in the country. And there is where Article 352 jumps in. Article 324 comes in. 324 mentions about Election Commission and also about Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. So clause 1 mentions about Election Commission. Clause 2 mentions about the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. But one important thing is that the process of appointment of Chief Election Commissioner is not given. Process is not given. Now, in the absence of process, what happened and what was happening from decades? From decades, on the basis of the recommendation made by the Prime Minister, the President used to appoint the Chief Election Commissioner. So, many civil societies, many NGOs used to raise this question about the fairness of this selection process, about the transparency in the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner, because the involvement of Prime Minister is directly there. And as we know, India is a multi-party system. The largest political party or the coalition of parties who are getting the maximum number of seats in the Lok Sabha, they make the government, and Prime Minister is the head of the government, and he is the one who is recommending to the President to appoint a person on the post of Chief Election Commissioner. So there will be questions about the transparency of the process, about the integrity of the process. So this case went on to Supreme Court. Okay, and what Supreme Court did in one of the very important judgments in 2023, Supreme Court said that until the Parliament makes the law, there shall be a selection committee consisting of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of India. This was in 2023. Subsequently, the government has came up with an act in 2023 for the process of election of Chief Election Commissioners and other elections, which said that there has to be a search committee which is going to search for 5 important candidates who can be made the Chief Election Commissioner. And that search committee will send the names to the selection committee, and this selection committee will consist of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition or the leader of the biggest party in opposition, and a cabinet minister appointed by the Prime Minister. So if you see clearly what has happened, the ruling of the Supreme Court included the Chief Justice of India in the election process, in the selection process of Chief Election Commissioner, whereas the Act eliminated the Chief Justice of India and instead has kept a cabinet minister appointed by the Prime Minister in this process. So clearly, again, although in order to balance, because earlier it was only the Prime Minister who used to advise the President to appoint, but now at least we have a selection committee, and to balance the view of the government, we also have a leader of opposition here. This is a critical thing which has happened in Indian democracy, that leader of opposition has been included in the selection committee for the appointment of chief election commissioners. Earlier, three different people from three different organs of the government were included as per the ruling of the Supreme Court. Prime Minister, he is a member of executive, also the member of legislature. Leader of opposition comes from legislature, and CJI, Chief Justice of India, is a part of the judiciary. But here if you see, again, the power is tilted towards the executive, because the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Minister, they are going to be on the one side, but at least to balance them and balance their view, there is a leader of opposition to look into the matter. So it's a good progress which has been made as far as the election or the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner goes. Now, let us see these things on slide. Recently, Mr. Gyanesh Kumar has been appointed as the Chief Election Commissioner of India. So, Election Commission of India, as we all know, it's a constitutional body responsible for conducting free and fair elections. Free and fair elections to the Parliament, to the state legislative assemblies, to the important posts of President, Vice President. Okay. Then it is composed of the Chief Election Commissioner and the other election commissioners, and the number of these election commissioners are fixed by an act brought by Parliament. Okay, this is something important for you to understand. Article 324 clause number 2 of the Indian Constitution provides for the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, but as I told you, a process was not mentioned here. The process is not mentioned, and that was the bone of contention from so many years, that the questions were raised on the selection process of the Chief Election Commissioner. Concerns over the appointment process. Historically, how appointment was done? It was controlled by the executive. It was controlled by the executive without a formal consultation process. Civil societies and other NGOs have raised questions for it. And appointment of Chief Election Commissioner before 2023, because as I told you, in 2023, Supreme Court judgment came first, and then Act was introduced in order to appoint the Chief Election Commissioners and other election commissioners. So there was no specific law. Appointment was made by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. There was a convention that the person from the Election Commissioner, whoever holds the seniority, would become the Chief Election Commissioner. But that convention is no more followed after the Act of Parliament which is passed, because it contains a search committee also. Okay. So this was the case. Anup Baranwal versus Union of India, March 2, 2023, this judgment came, which has three important elements, three important institutions which are going to be the people who will be involved in the selection process of the Chief Election Commissioner, Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and Chief Justice of India. But then government came up with the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioner appointment conditions, services and terms offices Act of 2023. This was a new law which was talking about the election of Chief Election Commissioner. So it also tells so many other things. The new law created search committee and removed Chief Justice of India. This act also talks about the terms, the qualification, the removal and everything related with Chief Election Commissioners. A search committee. The search committee consists of Law Minister. Along with Law Minister, there is going to be few officials which were there at the post of secretary, would be helping in searching 5 candidates, and those 5 candidates which are searched from the search committee will then go to the selection committee, which consists of the Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and the Union Cabinet Minister appointed by the Prime Minister, who is then going to select one person among those 5, and the name of that person is going to move to the President of India for appointment as the Chief Election Commissioner. I hope you have understood this. So no seniority as of now. Seniority has given way to a process which is made by the Act of the Parliament, and a wider selection process, because the pool is going to be much bigger from where the candidate for Chief Election Commissioner can be picked up from. So the eligibility criteria, section 6 of this particular act talks about eligibility criteria. Qualification must be holding office or held office equivalent to the post of secretary in the government of India. This is very important. Must be at least a secretary to the government of India, and of course the person of integrity and having experience in the election process. This is very important. A person of integrity, a corrupt officer should not be appointed as a Chief Election Commissioner of India, because again, the whole democracy, the basis of it are elections. And if elections are not held in fair and free and fair manner, then there is going to be political problems, there are going to be other kind of problems, constitutional problems in this country. So the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and appointment of a person of integrity and having experience in the election process is very, very important. So this was an issue which was ignored from a very long time, the appointment, and was made by the executive, the person of executive, the person who would be favoring the executive would come and sit in that post, just because the transparency is not there, the integrity in the selection process is not there, and President do not have any other way rather than to listen to the advice of the Prime Minister when it comes to the selection of the Chief Election Commissioner. But now the process has changed after the 2023 Act. So this is also terms and conditions. If you see, they hold office, both of them, Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, they hold office till the age of 65 years, or they have a tenure of 6 years, whichever comes earlier. And of course, there is no reappointment. That simply means once they retire from the service, there is no reappointment of Chief Election Commissioner. Why? Because the post-retirement benefits can be sought by the Chief Election Commissioner, or he can be lured into that post-retirement benefits by the government so that he can favor the government. But such a thing is not allowed. Constitutionally speaking, reappointment of Chief Election Commissioner is not allowed. In an election commission, if the election commissioner, so there are Chief Election Commissioners and Election Commissioner, and if the Election Commissioner is promoted as Chief Election Commissioner, the tenure of this person, for example, he was Election Commissioner for 2 years and then he is being promoted to Chief Election Commissioner. If you combined the tenure, the combined tenure should not be more than 6 years. That simply means he was an Election Commissioner for 2 years, then he can only be a Chief Election Commissioner for 4 years, not 6 years. So in combination, if you see, if a person was an Election Commissioner and then appointed as a Chief Election Commissioner, the combination of the tenures, both the tenures must not be more than 6 years. Important for us to understand. Okay, so there are international conventions, different country elects or selects or appoints their election commissioners in different way. In the United States, it is appointed by the president, but there is also Senate confirmation. That simply means executive and legislature both are involved. Whereas in United Kingdom, if you see, it is the Speaker's Committee which appoints it, ensuring cross-party involvement. In France, everybody is involved. The president, the legislature, the judiciary, that was involved. That is what was reflected in a way by the judgment of the Supreme Court, 2023 judgment, which we have just now seen, Anup Baranwal versus Union of India, that the CGI will represent the judiciary, the legislature will be represented by the leader of opposition, and of course president and executive would be there, prime minister is there, and finally the president is going to appoint it. So it was a system which was in some or the other way was similar to the system of France, but then the act came and a different process of selection was introduced in it. South Africa has the president appoints the election commissioners on the recommendation of the National Assembly. Similarly, in Brazil, it is appointed by the Federal Supreme Court. Now, this is important. Brazil is important. Why? Because this is the only country where, if we see, judiciary appoints the election commissioner. There is no role played by the legislature and the executive here. And in Nepal, the president appoints election commissioner on the recommendation of the Constitutional Council, followed by the parliamentary hearing. So these are the examples from different countries. Chief election commissioner and the appointment of chief election commissioner and other election commissioner are very important to maintain political democracy in the country. And for that reason, it also becomes an important topic for you to understand for your upcoming prelims examination and then your mains examination. So thank you very much for joining me here. We will come up next time with an equally important topic in the current affairs series. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.